So today we're going to be continuing with the seemingly never-ending Domain 2 Task 2. This will be the fourth session, but that will finish that session off. And then we'll be going into Domain 2 Task 3, which is System Design Principles. So let's start with security officers and the human element. Okay. So security officers. Security officers, they continue to play a really essential role in the overall security plan. So this is part of the asset protection strategies, right? So even as technology is evolving rapidly, security guards are still, they're not a replacement, but they are an enhancement, and they should fit in with their overall security plan. So this is what we're going to be talking about in this session, basically the importance of a security officer force. So the role of the security officer has evolved significantly over the years. Historically, they were seen as guards or watchmen, but they were typically passive observers tasked with deterrence. But today, the industry emphasizes professionalism, security officer. The term is now security officer to highlight their broader responsibilities. And modern officers are expected to be trained, skilled, and knowledgeable in both technology and human interaction. And as I mentioned, the human element or the security officer should be integrated into the asset protection strategy you have in place. So that would be in coordination with physical barriers, electronic security, policies and procedures, that sort of thing. So security officers have grown. The business or the market, I should say, has grown since 9/11. There are 1 million plus officers in the US at this point. And the trend, I guess it reflects a heightened awareness of vulnerabilities and the recognition that physical presence is essential in deterring and responding to threats. Remember defense in depth and the 4Ds, a security officer could be part of that deterrence. The roles are expanding worldwide, patrolling even shopping malls and office complexes to securing critical military bases. In some regions, they even supplement or replace public police in maintaining order and providing security services. New industries also drive demand. For instance, the cannabis industry is a very strong business these days, and having a security officer on site really helps with keeping the assets safe and keeping the crime level down. Officers can also take on customer service and support roles. So they can be providing communication support, logistical assistance, that sort of thing. And it adds value for employers too. And the trend these days is to have fewer but more highly trained officers. So one skilled officer can oversee more functions, more a highly trained officer, and making training and education the key differentiator in modern security operations. Contemporary challenges. So with all the various global issues going on, and global challenges, things like climate change, overpopulation, and growing privacy concerns, they all create new risks. For example, extreme weather may increase disaster response needs, while crowded urban developments add to the complexity of managing safety. And privacy laws also change how officers handle data, surveillance, and reporting. Regulations are expanding and increasing across states and countries. And countries now impose licensing, training, and reporting requirements on many facets of security. And of course, as we all know, we've spoken about this, failing to follow regulations can really hurt you in the long run down the road. Another key challenge, officers must master technology, access video, computer-aided dispatch. This means it's basically a way to dispatch and duty rosters on a computer system. And the old days, it was a simple, the guard used a simple watch clock. Today's officer may also rely on GPS-enabled patrol tracking or cloud-based reporting software. The security officer really needs continuous learning and adaptability. That's one thing that technology cannot give you as well, the ability to adapt to any fast-changing scenario. And there's certifications available also for guards, for security officers, including the CPP, the PSP, the CPO. The CPO is a certified protection officer, and that is another, apart from the ASIS certification, this one is run by the IFPO, which is the International Foundation for Protection Officers. So there's many ways you can increase your skills and your learning being a security officer. Security officers are part of a layered defense. We mentioned layered defenses in one of the first sessions we had, part of a layered defense with the 4Ds, or defense in depth, ensuring that no single failure compromises the entire protection strategy. And that being said, though, security officers are the most expensive element of a security program. You've got salaries, you've got benefits, you've got training costs, but they do have their unique capabilities to bring to the table that technology can't replicate. The necessary human being concept. So if you can answer, if this post demands any of these criteria, such as complex judgment, dialogue and decision-making, communicating directly with people and adjusting responses, physical intervention, using presence, restraint, or force when necessary, does it need detailed reporting of events? If the answer is yes to all of these, then you do need, or you should have perhaps, a security officer force. If not, then maybe simple technology or routine access control installations can help. But when you need personal recognition, negotiation, or de-escalation, then only an officer can do this job. So key takeaways for that slide. Deploy officers where human skills provide the most value and complement them with technology elsewhere. This ensures both cost-effective and stronger protection. So that would be the key takeaway. Let's look now at security force models. Our options are proprietary, contract, or hybrid. Proprietary, the model proprietary is basically the officers are directly employed by the organization. And this provides greater loyalty and control, but at a higher cost, because you are then having the salary employed do your security officer work. So not only the salary, you've got benefits, you've got training costs and everything else. But the advantage, of course, is that they're your employees. They know the company culture, they know the facility, and they know the mission. So that is proprietary. That's your own guard force. Contract guard force, security force, that is typically a company that specializes in that. You know who the players are, I'm sure, but there are various companies out there who can basically be the security force for you. In that case, they take the onus on salaries and the administrative burden, and that way it can help with the cost factor. It probably is less expensive. However, it offers less control from the company hiring these contract officers. They may be as much familiar with the organization's unique needs, and their turnover can be higher. They're never like permanent people. Maybe they were shifted responsibilities to another location or something else. But contract forces are more flexible, and they allow organizations to scale staffing up or down as needed. They can tell the company, I only need 4 guards this week or 6 officers, whatever. It depends on what you want. And then a really good model, of course, is the hybrid model, which blends both. And that makes it very cost effective. You could have a few of your own proprietary guards, security officers, I should say, and then use a company to provide additional as needed officer support. And one word of caution when choosing a contract security company, don't hire based on the lowest bid. It often leads to problems. Since the wages are the largest expense, that means that they're either cutting costs somewhere else, and it could be training, it could be
That's too
they could
big,
be
bro.
underpaid. Pardon?
No, I'm good, man. This is it until the day I say peace.
Yes. Okay. So that is be careful on lowest contract bids. Not always worth it in this case. That never is. Key takeaway. Each of these models has strengths and weaknesses. The right choice depends on the organization's budget, culture, and security priorities. Okay, a few words on proprietary versus contract security. Now we're familiar with the terms. In-house, direct control, more loyalty, and lower turnover. Contract, more flexible. You can change the security officer force as needed, but less direct oversight. The key advantage of proprietary security officer force, of course, is stronger loyalty and control over the training. Key takeaway here, proprietary officers provide greater consistency and commitment, while contract officers offer scalability and convenience. Organizations must weigh control versus flexibility when choosing. Humans versus technology and security. Technology excels at routine, repetitive, and data-driven tasks, such as monitoring large volumes of video, detecting anomalies, or managing access control records. Humans, though, are indispensable for tasks involving complex, varying criteria that require flexibility, judgment, or empathy. Examples include discriminating between benign versus suspicious behavior, handling nuanced interpersonal interactions, and making real-time ethical or legal decisions during emergencies. The key really is not to think of humans and technology as competitors, but as complements in a layered defense strategy. Key takeaway here, technology provides speed and consistency, but human officers provide adaptability and judgment that no system can fully replicate. Let's have a look now at basic security officer functions. The core duties across all models include access control. That is a person, an officer, standing at the front entrance, regulating people, giving directions, guiding people. It could also be vehicles. It could be guiding vehicles. It could be inspecting vehicles. This is the first line of defense against unauthorized access. Patrols, they can perform patrols on foot or mobile. Their presence deters threats and helps detect issues early. So it's 2 Ds of the 3 Ds there, or 4 Ds, I'm sorry. Inspections, they can identify safety hazards, fire hazards, unlocked doors, or equipment failures. They can monitor from control centers, alarms, cameras, and access systems. This requires technical competence on the security officer's part, of course. And they can do emergency response and traffic control during an emergency. They can provide a guiding hand for people, tell them the way out, and make sure everyone is following the right path to exit. They can also act as escorts, special assignments, and reporting. So they can escort employees, protect assets, or assist HR in sensitive situations. Key takeaway, security officers are the eyes, ears, and first responders of an organization, linking people, procedures, and technology. Talk a little bit more about access control function of a security officer. That's one of the primary responsibilities. So they regulate entry and exit of people, vehicles and property, making sure only authorized individuals or items move through control points. They can perform a check on ID and badges to verify identity and authorization. They can issue visitor passes, temporary passes for visitors and vendors, contractors. They can report contraband or stay alert for contraband or suspicious activity and reporting or stopping it immediately. And finally, they verify that any property leaving the facility is authorized with the right paperwork or approval, typically a form that's filled out by management to allow you to remove company property from the building. And the key takeaway here on access control is this is where security officers most visibly interact with people. So professionalism and consistency here set the tone for the organization's overall security posture. Okay, now a word about patrols. Patrols by security officers can be foot, mobile, could be cars, bikes, segways. They're still around quite a lot. This is maybe obvious, but one thing that makes patrols more effective is to vary the route and the timing slightly so that it's not predictable anymore. Because that can be exploited by anyone planning a misdeed against the facility. Officers also look for hazards, suspicious activity, and policy violations, and they observe, report, and document incidents. Key takeaway, patrols deter threats through visibility and unpredictability, while also ensuring early detection of risks. Other core functions, inspection, check fire hazards, doors, packages, operate video alarms and system as needed, provide emergency response, fire, medical, active shooter situations, disasters, and traffic control. They can regulate traffic flow, both people and vehicles, and prevent congestion and assist pedestrians too. Very important during emergencies or peak times. So these other core functions make officers not just observers, but active protectors and first responders, bridging the gap until specialized emergency services arrive. Some more core functions. Altered mental status. What that means is when someone shows signs of confusion or distress, an officer should be capable and should ensure that for immediate safety, they should call EMS or assist where they can. And they must balance compassion with control of the situation. Escort duties, protect people or assets during movements, such as walking employees to the cars at night or transporting valuables. Special assignments, communications or errands, but please use these sparingly because you're taking an officer off of his post, and that is never a good idea. You have to cover for that person, and that dilutes the rest of your security force operation. And record keeping, logs and reports for accountability. Key takeaway here, these specialized duties highlight the officer's role as protector, responder, and reliable record keeper. So security officer role. So modern security officers do more than just guard posts. Their role is expanded in multiple ways. They act as PR and management representatives. They're often the first people that a visitor sees coming into a building. So they have to be, be very good with people. Officers are information collectors. They observe, they record, and they report details that help organizations assess risks. They serve as enforcement and compliance agents, ensuring rules, regulations, and policies are followed. And they can be legal consultants too. They can provide testimony, they can assist in investigations or advise on liability concerns. And they do function as physical security specialists. They apply their expertise to support system design, risk assessment, and emergency planning. So today's security officers are multifunctional professionals, adding value for beyond traditional guard duties. Okay, let's talk about the subject of weapons in security programs. Deadly weapons, always a controversial subject. These should only be authorized when the threat of greater harm exists without them, or when it's reasonably anticipated that fatal force could be required to protect lives. The problem with deadly weapons is with firearms, their presence raises liability, operational concerns, ethical concerns. So policies must clearly define the rare circumstances where they are permitted. We then have less than lethal weapons. That would include pepper spray, tasers, that sort of thing. They're intended strictly for self-defense, not as tools for intimidation or offensive action. And their role is to provide officers with intermediate options. That's between verbal commands and lethal force, that middle ground. And all weapon policies must align with local laws and regulations. And of course, training is very important when you're using these weapons, whether they be less than lethal or deadly. Key takeaway, weapons, lethal or non-lethal, should be carried only under strict policy, training, and oversight frameworks, balancing officer capability with organizational and public safety responsibilities. Let's talk about uniforms and equipment. They must comply with all laws and regulations, from use of force limits to licensing requirements. The uniforms, that should project professionalism, and they should fit the environment too. Key equipment would include radios, flashlights, ID badges, and keys. And additional tools may be vehicles, laptops, or tablets as needed. And for weapons, as we said, consider the risks, liability, and consider a lot of time spent training. Key takeaway, the right standards and equipment ensure officers are not only effective, but also credible and legally protected in their roles. Let's talk now about security officer selection. The quality of the officers defines the success of the operation. And as is good, the ASIS has a good standard, guidelines and standards. They have PSO-2019, which sets the standards for private security officers. This provides benchmarks for training, conduct, and professionalism. So it's a very good document to have. And once again, if you're an ASIS member, you get to have a free copy of the a free soft copy, I should say. Otherwise, it gets quite expensive. It can be $80, $90 to download the hard copy, but you can get the soft copy as an ASIS member for free. The desired attributes of a security officer would be honesty, courage, alertness, loyalty, courtesy, restraint, professionalism, neat appearance, knowledge of job and the laws, and education and ethics. So all those are desired attributes of a security officer. Key takeaway, security programs succeed when officers embody these standards of character, knowledge, and professionalism. Security officer training, extremely important. The training should match the responsibilities and duties of the officer, not generic content, but specific training must match the responsibilities and the risks. Methods, it can be orientation sessions, classroom sessions, online modules are great because you can do them during break time or whatever and catch up. Scenario-based drills, very important, and job mentoring on the job from senior officers. Domains of learning, cognitive, that would be actual knowledge, laws, procedure systems. Affective, shaping attitudes and professional perceptions. And psychomotor skills, which is basically hands-on skills, like radio use, any restraints, or first aid. Continuous development. True professionalism comes from the blend of education, training, and experience. Key takeaway, effective training ensures officers are not only prepared for today's risks, but also capable of adapting as threats evolve. Training and development. Comprehensive training is very good for legal protection against negligence claims. If an incident occurs, organizations can demonstrate due diligence by proving the officers receive proper instruction. Distance learning is always good. Gives you 24/7 accessibility to any training that you might want. The frog syndrome, that's like the boiling frog syndrome. This refers to managers who take on the full burden of training but fail to complete it effectively, often leaving gaps in officer preparation. So organizations need to avoid over-reliance on a single trainer and instead implement systematic, consistent training. And education versus training. Sometimes people don't think about this, but education provides the why, the principles and reasoning, and training provides the how-to, the practical skills necessary for day-to-day job performance. But both of these are essential for building competent, adaptable officers. Key takeaway, security training must be comprehensive, accessible, and balanced between education and practical skills, with organizational support to prevent gaps in liability. So a few words now on managing the force. Security officers, a security officer program is probably the largest cost in most security budgets. It requires clear standard operating procedures and post orders. Post orders are basically from, if you think of the old guard post, the post orders would be what that particular officer, what his responsibilities are. So they must define exactly what is expected at each post and prevent gaps or confusion. Scheduling, you do get good scheduling software these days. It aids efficiency, but it's got to be carefully managed and maintained because you've got to balance overtime, absences, and of course, staff fatigue. You can't have a fatigued security officer. That's not a good thing. Supervision is critical for quality and morale. Good supervisors mentor officers, provide feedback and reinforce standards, and regular inspections, evaluations, and data analysis keep the program on track. So reviewing logs, reports, and incident data helps identify trends and areas for improvement. And just to sum this up, effective management turns a costly force into a professional, motivated, and efficient security team. So leveraging the human element. Security is more than officers. You're also going to have HR, concierge staff, and managers often serve as the first line of awareness. They see and hear things that security may not. Awareness training across the organization. It's good to have employees aware of security risks and don't let some guy into the building if he's waving and saying, I forgot my card. Make sure you get a positive ID on that. And community-based initiatives like Business Watch. That's to help your neighbors and their neighbors helping you. Partnerships, basically, with neighbors and local law enforcement. And the goal is to make security a shared responsibility where every employee and partner contributes. Key takeaway here, security officers are vital, but a culture of security makes the program truly effective. So in saying that, that is the first section. That is domain 2, task 3, and concentrating on the human element and security officers. Any questions on that?